Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, let me ask you one simple question. What is politics? Politics, in its purest form, is the contest of ideas, a debate between those who wish to govern and those who choose who governs them. It is not war, it is not enmity, it is the marketplace of vision. But when politics begins to flirt with death, when people use death itself as a political tool, then we have crossed a line too dark for humanity. On the morning of October 15th, 2025, just as the first rays of light touched Nairobi's skyline, the nation received the kind of news that stops time. Reports began to circulate. Raila Odinga is dead. Shock, silence, then tears.
There are days my head is down, my head is turning around, I had to let everybody to bed in Kingston Town.
On behalf of a grateful nation, I extend my deepest condolences to Mama Ida, his children.
Across the country, flags sank to half-mast. And like every moment that shakes a nation, the rumors came rushing in.
Raila Odinga never died of a heart failure. Raila Odinga was by this guy, Michael Mukula.
Some whispered he was poisoned.
The first record shows that Raila Odinga had in his lungs.
On behalf of a grateful nation, I extend my...
Others accused the president. A few went as far as claiming Raila did not die abroad. But right here in Kenya, long before October 15th,
Raila Odinga died in Nairobi hospital here in Kenya 2 weeks ago. Then he was lifted to India to manage the situation.
Others drew political parallels. He survived Moi's grip. He endured Kibaki's betrayal. He rose through Uhuru's handshake, but he couldn't survive Ruto's broad-based government. But such words, my fellow Kenyans, are reckless, because no man, no matter how mighty, knows the hour of his death. Not the day, not the month, not even the year. We are all travelers on the same road to dust. Now let us begin tracing the real paper trail. Let us look beyond the noise and into the man himself. Raila Odinga. Many say he was poisoned, but I beg to differ.
Ninaomba kanisa na viongozi mbalimbali wa dini.
When a man who was perfectly healthy suddenly collapses, then suspicion is justified. But Raila Odinga, his health had been failing for months, quietly, carefully hidden from the public eye. Why hidden? Because in politics, illness is not weakness, it is ammunition. Competitors weaponize your pain.
Ako na matatizo. Ati wanataka kuwekelea Kalonzo na mimi. Kalonzo ni bacteria. Yeah, ni virus.
Those were not jokes, those were daggers. And so, Odinga chose silence. He carried his pain privately, behind the smile, behind the energy at rallies, behind the voice that still carried fire even when his body was slowly dimming. For decades, Raila endured what many could not. A human body can endure only so much. And sometimes even the strongest body whispers, "I'm tired." Raila's body had carried both physical pain and emotional weight for far too long. And in the end, it demanded repayment. That, my friends, is where the trail begins.
NASA is a movement for the liberation.
When the 2017 elections came to an end, so did a certain strength in Raila Odinga's body. He had fought hard, too hard perhaps, and after the loss to Uhuru and Ruto, something in him began to fade quietly. At first, it was just fatigue.
All right, dead.
But by 2020, when the world was under siege by a silent enemy, the pandemic, Raila's health took a darker turn. In June 2020, he disappeared abruptly from the public eye. And because he was a politician, a man whose every move attracts noise, the rumor mill began spinning. But when the family finally broke the silence, they said Raila had undergone a minor surgery in Dubai. Yet when he returned, something had changed. The fire was still in his voice, but the strength was no longer in his body. Barely months after surgery, instead of resting, Raila was back on the road, launching the BBI campaign, moving from county to county, rally to rally, microphone to microphone. It was as though he refused to let his body rest, as if he feared stillness more than exhaustion. But the body, ladies and gentlemen, always speaks back. The once tireless Raila, who could command 3 rallies a day, began struggling to finish even one. Choppers would land mid-route just to lift him off. His body could no longer match his spirit. By 2020 and 2022, as William Ruto stormed through 3 or 4 rallies in a day, Raila could barely manage one. Behind the scenes, his aides whispered of weakness. The cameras never caught the moments when he needed help climbing stairs, or when his hand shook while holding a microphone. It was during this period that critics, mostly from the opposite camp, nicknamed him Sleeping Babu. To many, it was a joke, something to laugh at. But medically, it was not sleep. It was the brain slipping into energy-saving mode. His body would slow down whenever he sat still for long, during meetings, ceremonies, or speeches, forcing his brain to conserve energy. So when he appeared to doze off, he wasn't being lazy. He was fighting fatigue, fighting his body.
All right, Dad. Everybody was talking like you're in ICU. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
The Dubai surgery, meant to heal him, instead opened a door to more complications. From then on, Raila's strength dwindled, slowly, quietly, and tragically. His legs weakened, his movements slowed, and though his words remained sharp, his body was losing the war. But the truth, ladies and gentlemen, was hidden, carefully masked beneath politics. Because in politics, sickness is not sympathy, it's ammunition. Now we arrive at the questions that have haunted every conversation since his death. How did Raila die? Where did he die? And who was with him in those final moments? Between September 5th and October 2nd, 2025, a quiet pattern emerged, one that many didn't notice until it was too late. Let's retrace his final public appearances. September 5th, attended the burial of former Laikipia North MP, Matthew Lemperkel. September 10th, hosted US Chargé d'Affaires Susan Burns at his Nairobi office. September 12th, welcomed footballer Ryan Ogam and family for a farewell before his Austria departure. September 22nd, chaired an ODM parliamentary group meeting in Nairobi. That evening, witnesses say Raila complained of unusual fatigue. Doctors were called to his Karen home, and they advised him to stay away from meetings and crowded spaces. From that moment, September 22nd, Raila vanished from the public eye. For nearly 2 weeks, there was no sight, no statement, no photograph. Then came the whispers again. Sources confirm that on September 25th, Raila travelled quietly to Malindi to meet his doctors. His condition had worsened, breathing difficulties, chest tightness, persistent exhaustion. He was meant to attend the Nyanza ODM celebrations on September 26th in Kisii, but he didn't make it. In Malindi, his doctors told him the truth. You need specialised treatment abroad. preferably in India or China. Immediately, his elder brother, Dr. Raila Odinga, and a few close allies began planning his evacuation. At first, China was an option. Kisii Governor Simba Arati's wife, Meifang Xia, also known as Kwamboka, was contacted to help coordinate the logistics: hospital, accommodation, medical team. But upon further assessment, they agreed that India would be the safest choice. India's cardiologists were renowned, and Raila's problem was cardiac. On the evening of October the 2nd, Raila returned from Malindi and went to his Upper Hill office. That same evening, President William Ruto called him, requesting a meeting. Ruto then offered to visit him instead. And that night, the president drove to Raila's Karen residence, where the two shared dinner, perhaps their last meeting. It was during that dinner that Ruto was informed of Raila's plan to travel to India for treatment. Two men who had been fierce rivals for decades now sat at one table, one facing his political peak, the other staring quietly at mortality. Before he could leave the country, there was one last political move. Raila was supposed to preside over ODM's 20th anniversary celebrations in Mombasa from October 10th to 12th. But on October 3rd, he chaired a meeting at Serena Hotel announcing a postponement, citing the need for inclusivity and engagement with more counties. To the public, it sounded strategic. But behind the curtains, it was a cover-up. A move to conceal his deteriorating condition as arrangements for his treatment in India were being finalized. Because in politics, perception is everything. And sickness, my friends, is the last weakness a leader ever wants his enemies to see. It was a calm afternoon, on the same day, 3rd of October. At his Karen residence, Raila Odinga hosted the Gor Mahia executives, led by Chairman Ambrose Rakier, a club he deeply loved, a symbol of passion and loyalty. The meeting went on as usual, laughter in between, the warmth of old friends. But behind that smile, something quiet was happening inside the man they called Baba. Moments after the Gor Mahia delegation left, around 7 p.m., Raila began feeling dizzy. Then suddenly his body stiffened, his chest tightened. He was experiencing cardiac arrest. Family doctors were rushed in. They worked on him urgently, and by God's mercy, he came back. But this time, the comeback was different. He looked drained, his legs too weak to hold him up. His body was sending a message that everyone feared to read. That same night, Raila Odinga, accompanied by Winnie Odinga and his longtime aide Maurice Ogeta, quietly boarded a flight out of Kenya. Their destination, southern India. It was the morning of October 4th when the plane touched down. From October 4th to October 9th, doctors worked day and night. Then, a miracle. The series of cardiac arrests stopped. His pulse stabilized. By October 10th, doctors said he was recovering well. Winnie, his daughter, said her father was even laughing again, telling light stories, eating small meals, asking about home. It was the moment of relief the family had prayed for. On October 14th, the doctors discharged him, declaring him fully recovered. That evening, President William Ruto called to check on him. He spoke through Winnie, who assured the president that Dad is okay. We're planning his return to Kenya soon. But that same night, Raila did something unusual. He wrote his will. In that document, he made a strange request that he be buried within 72 hours of his death. Winnie found it unsettling. How can Dad write a will for his burial when he's just been declared well? She wondered. But fate, it seems, was already writing its own script. The next morning, October 15th, 2025, Winnie was busy organizing her father's travel flight back home. Raila, now dressed casually, requested his bodyguard Maurice Ogeta to accompany him for a short walk. At first, everything seemed fine. He walked with his usual calm, but as they went further, Maurice noticed his pace begin to slow. Step by step, Raila grew weaker. At about 500 meters, he suddenly stopped. His eyes dimmed, and before his body could hit the ground, Maurice caught him from behind. The ambulance, which had been following closely as a precaution, rushed forward instantly. They placed him inside and sped back to the hospital. Doctors knew the routine. They had seen this before. They assumed it was another mild cardiac arrest. They performed CPR. Nothing. They used electric defibrillation. The shock meant to restart the heart. Still, nothing. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. But the man who had survived torture chambers, detention, and political betrayal this time did not come back. Raila Odinga was gone. From October 10th, when doctors said he had fully recovered, to October 15th, when he breathed his last, those 5 days were his borrowed time. And that, my friends, is how death plays its final trick. It allows the dying to look alive, to smile again, to laugh, to make peace, before it quietly takes them away. For the king, those 5 days were a gift, a window to say goodbye without saying it aloud. Now to those alleging that Raila was poisoned, to those claiming he was to those suggesting he died long before October 15th, I ask you, have you seen anything in this timeline that points to foul play? Every date, every event, every witness aligns. This was not the story of murder. This was the story of a man whose body had simply reached its final chapter. At LifeLens TV, we have laid the truth bare. You have seen the evidence. You have heard the trail. Be the judge. The king is gone. But his crown, the spirit of resilience, the voice of courage, the dream of a better Kenya lives on. The king is dead. Long live the crown.
The king is dead, but long live the crown.